Good morning, everybody. Hey, Lance. Getting dialed in here, going live in just a moment. What's up, Hans? I have Don Singleton as my guest today here. We're going to be going live in just a minute.
Hello.
KXVS, the voice of Stockton, presents the Lance McHan Show with your host, Lance McHan.
All right, everybody. Good morning. I'm Lance McHan. This is the Lance McHan Show, brought to you by SellYourHomeStockton.com. I'm a local real estate agent with Keller Williams. My license number is BRE019874449. And today's guest is Don Singleton from Healthy Home Inspections. Good morning, Don. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing great. Thank you.
I'm glad you could be here to talk about a little bit of real estate and what a home inspection is and what it does. So first off, what qualifies somebody to be a home inspector? Is there training, specialized training schools? What do you have to do to become a home inspector?
So in the state of California, there is no state requirements to be a home inspector. So that's why it's important that you hire somebody that is from one of the organizations such as ASHI, CREA, like that. I'm a CREA member, which is the California Real Estate Inspection Association. And to be a member of that organization, you have to meet certain qualifications.
Okay.
But some of those qualifications, you have to pass the Home Inspection National Exam, which is required in other states for state licensing.
Okay.
You have to abide by the
Rules and ethics.
of CREA, which means that if you inspect a house, you're not allowed to work on it for 1 year after that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that's also in the Business and Professions Code too in the state of California.
Oh,
so
that I didn't know that.
yes, so yes, that's
little
important.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah, you don't want any conflict of interest.
Right.
So yeah, so you don't want to be working on somebody's house after you inspect it. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, it can get you in a whole lot of trouble.
Right, and then with CREA, they go a step further and they require all of their members to do a certain amount of hours every year in education.
Okay.
So that's a big thing with CREA, is to educate their inspectors and to educate the public on home inspections.
Right, because the industry's always changing.
Exactly.
Solar, that's big, something new. Do you inspect solar panels as part of your?
Well, we don't necessarily inspect the solar panel itself. We leave that up to the solar companies that install it, because usually they should be under warranty. But we do inspect where they connect to the roof and stuff like that, if we could see that kind of thing. Because you have to remember, a home inspection is a non-invasive inspection. So, those connections underneath those solar panels, we really can't see.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we could see them in the attic if we go up there and check it out.
Okay.
And I know most home inspectors will do that.
Okay, that makes sense. Why should someone get a home inspection? And what are you looking for when you do a home inspection?
So, a home inspection basically is a limited, non-invasive inspection of the home, usually in connection with a real estate transaction. So, and it is a very, very good idea that you get a home inspection, because you want to know the condition of that house prior to purchasing it, and possibly there could be something that the home inspector finds that you may not want, and you may not want to buy that house because of it. But if nothing else, you'll at least know and have your eyes wide open when going into purchasing that house. The inspector has told you these are the things that are wrong, and you've looked at that and said, okay, that's fine with me. I'm going to fix them, or I could live with that.
Okay.
And you still buy the house.
So have you ever had contractors get a home inspection and go, oh wow, I didn't even realize that, or an example of something
Yeah, I mean, you come across I've come across all kinds of things over the years with just different people and different contractors, and typically with with contractors, you know, they know what they know, and that's what they do or
What's their specialty?
Right. But with home inspectors, you know, we're required to have all this information in our heads.
Like general knowledge.
Exactly. And so to do that, you know, all of us, at least I know with Korea, you know, we do a lot of education. I mean, just 2 Saturdays ago, you know, I went to the Bay Area to do a lecture all day on Saturday on heat pumps. You know, so
we don't have a lot of heat pumps here,
but they're getting popular, and they do have them in certain areas up and down the state. And yeah, I mean, you know, I enjoy that kind of work, so it's fun for me. But yeah, those are the kind of things we have to do as home inspectors, is constantly stay on top of things.
So has there been? Do you have a story where you've come across, you did a home inspection, and you saved somebody from making a bad decision?
Yeah, actually, often, you know, just here recently, I did a home inspection and I went inside the house and I noticed some pretty good floor sloping, and that's when the floors are sloping outwards towards the edge of the house, and I'm like, could be an issue. So then I crawled underneath the house into the crawl space, and yep, the part of the wall was blown out, and so we had a structural engineer come out there, and it was anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 to fix it. So
those structural engineers,
you know, suffice to say that person walked. But yeah, I mean, we do come across that kind of stuff.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That the investment, I always say the price you pay is nothing compared to the cost of ignorance.
Exactly.
So it's a little upfront. You may feel like, oh, I don't need it, I can deal with it, but an $80,000 stem wall rehab, the structure of the foundation isn't cheap. You know,
no.
The $350 that it costs to pay for the inspection just saved them $80,000.
Right, and then in another instance, I did a house in the country, and it was a country home, much older home, and I went underneath it and was crawling around, and it just did not look right, and the walls, just nothing looked right to me, you know, and you just have the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and you go, So I asked them to get a structural engineer, and I was correct in that all of the foundation wall, all the way around the house, needed to be rebuilt. So they actually have to lift that house up and rebuild the foundation wall. But those people still bought that house because they worked it out with the seller, and they got it fixed.
Right.
So
it was a win-win for both parties.
And it was about, I think they said it was around $60,000 to fix that. So
wow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, call Don. He can save you money. But then again, they had a negotiating tool to go back to the seller and say, hey, these are the problems that we found. We had a structural engineer, a neutral third party, as Don is, and here's the problem. Do you want to work together on fixing it?
Correct.
And they both people walked away.
Everybody was happy. So, you know, that's a good story.
I was looking through one of the inspections that you've done for me in the past, and it says useful life. I know that people look at that and they're like, it's beyond its useful life. What does that mean? Because I've seen water heaters go 30 years. So
right.
I know it's kind of a general term. Can you explain to the people what that means?
So, like everything, everything wears out. And so there's these tables that they produce, and so with water heaters, it's 10 to 12 years. Now there are some manufacturers that the water heater pretty much does go bad after 10 or 12 years. And then there's other manufacturers, the water heater could last 30 years. I mean, we just don't know. But it's my job as a home inspector to tell somebody, hey, I would just keep in the back of your head that you are going to need to replace this down the road. Now, it may happen the day after you move in, and it may happen 10 years down the road. We just don't know, but that's what that's all about.
I've had a client move into a house and the hot water heater went out. But it was just those single sealed burner units.
Right.
It was an $80 fix, but they were like, we have no hot water.
Yep.
Here, it's probably this. Start here.
Right.
And they didn't opt for the home warranty, and so I sent them to local appliance store, tell them, go do this. It's simple.
Right.
And they were back up and running in no
Right.
time. But they were just, it's that buyer's remorse kicks in. They're like, oh, we bought them, and it's like, they're flipping out. It's like, no, it's not that bad. Just
Right.
Don't panic.
It's everything wears out, especially things that heat up, things that are gas burning appliances.
Mm-hmm.
Everything wears out, and it's just the way it is. You have expansion, contraction of metal parts, and over time, things will either break or start leaking, and it's time to replace.
So what do you think about the newer hot water heater systems? Are you
The tankless?
not the tank? We'll touch on the tankless,
Okay.
but the sealed burner units, because those seem to wear out every couple of years.
Yep. And so, I don't necessarily care for those too much because I can't see anything in there.
Yeah.
I try to look through that little window, and
There's not much to see.
no, it's just nothing to see. So, we can't inspect something we can't see. So,
Right.
yeah, it makes it difficult.
So what do you think about the tankless hot water heaters?
They're pretty nice as long as they're installed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, during home inspections, you find that the people that have done it yourselves, do-it-yourself kind of people, watched a YouTube video and think they can put a tankless water heater in. So then they wonder why my report says, you need to call a plumber and have this all redone.
Wow.
So, I run into that often. So it's like it's best certain things to get a professional, and that's installing hot water heaters and electrical.
Yeah.
Those things you shouldn't mess with unless you know
want
what.
a hot shower in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. Pay a professional.
Exactly.
I had a tankless hot water heater and I loved it.
Yeah, they're nice. They are.
You never run out of hot water.
Nope. But tankless doesn't mean it's instant hot water.
that is true.
So
And
some
I was
people
like,
make that
if
like, I have instant hot water. And I go,
where I
nope.
could have instant hot water, it would have been the perfect solution. But it was one of my first houses I bought, and the run was probably about 80 feet. So it took a good few minutes for the water to heat up. But once it was there, it was
Right, and you could put a pump on those, a recirculating pump on those now, and so there are things you can do to mitigate that. And
put a little 5-gallon.
Yeah, they
wanted to kind of keep
they do that also. So there's different, depending on the size of the house and how things are plumbed, and how much money you want to spend. It always the bottom line is how much money you want to spend. You can do anything if you want to spend the money.
I know. What about AC units? What is a common problem you run into with AC units that you see?
Usually it's people not taking care of them, having them serviced on a regular basis. It sits there in their garage or on their attic, and they just run it year after year after year, and then all of a sudden breaks, and they wonder why. Well, they never had it serviced. And if you have it serviced, they do last longer. Keep the filters cleaned. That's really important. Change those filters out. I can't tell you how many home inspections I do, and the filters are just clogged up. Like, really?
It's like out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
I know.
So, I tell
I'm
them.
not going to say I'm guilty of that, but
I think we all are.
it's like change the oil in your car. You're like, man,
Right.
drive it then, top it off once in a while.
Yeah,
But
so.
it's definitely,
It's very important to do that and to maintain it. And if you do, they last a lot longer. But like everything, those two have a use-by date. As a home inspector, we say anything past 18 to 20 years, plan to replace. And so, because the heat exchangers usually will start cracking, and you'll start having those kind of issues. Older units break down more often, so you're constantly having to have service techs out there. So after a while, it's going to
it's
be
like you're at that point where it's like the
Yeah.
cost to put a new one in versus trying to
right.
piece
And
this together.
some of those parts on those machines can be very expensive. So
One transaction we did recently, the heater worked. Actually, the heater didn't work, but come to find out, the heat exchanger had broke, or cracked, so it would kick on, heat up, and then the thermal switch would kick it off.
right.
And the seller was like, it was just working Wednesday when I was here. And I'm like, well, it's not working now. It's like an icebox in this house.
Yeah.
And so, but she fixed it. She had no problem fixing it. And that's partially because we had a neutral third party coming in and saying, hey, these are the problems we have. And she fixed 90% of the things that we had listed on them.
Yeah, well, yeah, like yesterday I had an inspection and everybody was there and I turned the heater on, ran the heater, and then towards the end of the inspection I turned the air conditioner on and the air conditioner didn't work. But everybody told me that the air conditioner worked a couple of days prior and they just had people out there to service it. And as a home inspector, if I can't turn that button on and turn it on,
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as that. So,
And usually something small at that point.
yeah, maybe, I don't know, but I'm going to have to get a service guy back out there to fix whatever he messed up or
Right.
whatever.
So when you go out to a home and you're starting an inspection, walk me through your process of what you do.
So typically I like to have the buyers there. I ask them what are their concerns, what may bother them about the house or what worries them, because everybody tends to have something, and I always like to know that up front. And then I can address that issue.
Right.
So whatever that may be, everybody's is different. And some people just say, well, you tell me. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's the way most people, I think.
right. And then,
unless it's pretty obvious, because a lot of times people don't have a construction background or
Right.
They know somebody who's a handyman, but they've never done any kind of work. They hire a gardener, they don't do anything.
Exactly.
So a lot of clients are really like that.
Right, yeah. And then most home inspectors have a method of what they follow. And so I'll do the exterior of the house, I'll walk around it several times. I like to put all of the emergency controls of the house in my report, tell them where to shut off the power, where to shut off the water, where there's sewage, where they can access the sewage in case they need to get something done or put a camera down it or get it cleaned or something like that. Where the gas shutoff is in case there's a problem.
Yeah, I've noticed that. If somebody's like, what's that? I'm like, should I have a wrench hanging there? I'm like, well, you can.
Yeah, and it's a good idea. I mean, I rarely see a wrench there.
Yeah.
I do recommend you put one there, but no one does.
Yeah.
But at least you know that where it's at, and that's important. So it's so same with the electrical, where that's at, where to shut the power off to your house, and where the water shut off is. Because if you have a water leak, you need to shut the water off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's important. So I put all those kind of things in my reports. But and then we do. Depending on what's going on outside, I'll do all that. I'll go inside and I'll start at the bedrooms at the back of the house, and I'll just work my way through the house, room by room, kitchen, and then I'll do the garage.
What do you look for in the kitchen?
Well, some inspectors do and don't inspect appliances. I inspect them.
Okay.
It depends on your standards of practice and what you follow as far as your organization. What they CREA kind of leaves it up to the individual inspectors whether we want to inspect the appliances or not. I do, because if I move into a house, I certainly want to know if my appliances are working.
Right.
So I inspect them as best I can. So I'll turn them all on.
She got my client a new dishwasher.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
But-
that's a whole point of the.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times these appliances too will be old and need to be replaced. And if they are in a condition where, hey, even though it's working, it's on its last leg.
Yeah.
So I'll put it in my report, hey, plan to replace. You're going to have to look down the road. This is going to have to be replaced, so I'll do that. But then I'll check all the appliances, turn everything on, check the stove. It's a freestanding stove. It should have an anti-tip device for safety. So if the door's open and a child steps on that door, the stove won't collapse on the child, and so it's called an anti-tip device. And almost all stoves come with them, but rarely are they installed. Right. So we make sure we note that in the report and say, hey, get this installed for safety, especially if you have small children.
What about outlets?
Yeah. So depending on the year of the house, the outlets should be ground fault circuit interrupt, protected.
In the kitchen?
And if they're not, we recommend that they put them in. And
Okay.
it's a cheap thing to do. I mean, $20-30 at Home
So
Depot.
what does the ground fault circuit interrupt do?
So what that'll do is shut the power off in case there's a problem, so you don't get electrocuted. And so that's the bottom line.
And it's instant?
It's instant. I mean, it's in a millisecond thing, so you don't get shocked. And
I'm sure it saved many lives.
Yes.
I've seen them work, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty fast.
Yes.
Like,
It's a good thing,
how's it work so fast?
Right. And part of my job is to bring up safety issues in the house. So, that's one safety issue, making sure that all the bedrooms have smoke alarms. That's required now, that you have smoke
For
alarms.
every transaction?
In a bedroom, smoke alarms. And then outside of every sleeping area, basement's included, there should be a carbon monoxide detector. So, and
So how many carbon monoxide detectors in a house?
so if it's a one-story, it's in where the hallway is, where the bedrooms are,
Okay.
outside of the sleeping area.
Okay.
If it's a two-story, there should be one upstairs, downstairs. If it's a house with the basement, it should be in the house with the sleeping area and as well as inside the basement too.
Okay.
So yeah, because a lot of times basements will have your heater, your hot water heater, so your gas
So
appliances.
does carbon monoxide rise, or is it a heavy?
It's the same. It's the same, pretty much the same as air, as far as the weight of it. So we always recommend that you just install your carbon monoxide detectors according to manufacturer's installation guide,
Okay.
and they all have them.
Because I've seen those combination smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors.
Right.
What's your
Right.
opinion on those?
They work. I mean, there's they're allowed. So as long as they're allowed, I really can't say much other than say, hey, as long as it's installed, that's what I look for.
Yes. Something's better than nothing.
Exactly.
Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a deadly gas because there is no odor.
Right. And so the big thing too with that is you have a two-story house, and in your garage, you don't want any openings in the garage as far as gaps or anything in your wall, your ceilings of your garage, because if you leave your car idling, all the fumes from your car is going up into the house and into the bedrooms that are above your garage. So you want to make sure that all your gaps and your garage is properly sealed, not only for fire protection to help slow down the fire, but also to keep any bad gas out of your house.
Good to know, ladies and gentlemen. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So, who would you recommend getting a home inspection? Buyers or sellers?
Well, I think it's a good idea that sellers also do home inspectors. That just depends on your area of location. Now, the Central Valley, we tend to just do buyer's inspections, but in the Bay Area, they tend to do listing inspections, is what we call them. They do the inspection prior to the house being put up for sale. So that's very common in that area there.
And the benefit, and I've kind of advised some of my clients, but it's ultimately their choice.
Yeah.
Look, we can get in the middle of this. They do a home inspection, and something comes up that you were not aware of, you weren't prepared for. Now we're back to square one. The deal's canceling, or you're renegotiating price, or you're including repairs. So if you know in advance, it makes the transaction a whole lot easier, because you can go, here's my termite report, here's my home inspection report. Kind of helps cover you on your buyer's disclosures, because you've had a neutral third party like, here, these are the things we know about, and this is the other things that the home inspector has found.
Well, that, and along with the seller's disclosure, you get a good picture of what's going on with the house.
Right.
And then in some cases, when I do listing inspections, people actually do go through and fix some of the stuff.
Right.
And then these are the things we fixed, and then these are the things we didn't
What are the
fix.
common little things that you think people could take care of themselves?
Well, that's a
maybe
tough one
yeah.
because
What do you see most common? Like for me, I know it's like toilets are always loose.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, toilets are always loose, and even people will tell me, "Oh, we just put a new one on," and I said, "Well, because you have to retighten it down about 2 to 3 weeks later after you've been sitting on it for a long time, and that wax ring tends to settle, and so you need to tighten it down a little bit. You just need to be careful doing it so you don't crack the base.
Right.
If you end up tightening that toilet too much, you will crack the base. If you have to tighten it too much, then it's better just to pull it off, put a new wax ring on there, and then start the
What do
process.
you think about those new style rings that are like a foam, and it's some type of polyurethane or something?
I haven't run across them too much. Supposedly they work. Like all things, time will tell.
Yes.
So
True.
wax
Wax is tried and true.
it works.
It's beeswax.
That's what I put. That's what I would use. So I know it works. And I'm putting a lot of those in myself, so I know. But yeah.
Not within a year, right? You probably don't have time to do handyman work.
No, I help people as much as I possibly can, and I always tell people during my inspections, hey, if you need more clarification on the report, call me. I'm always available to talk to you. If after you move in, there's an issue or a problem or you don't know something, call me. I'm available. You know, it's no big deal to pick up the phone. I can come by. You know.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
It just helps
I
out.
think that's why we're connected, is because your level of service is above and beyond.
Yeah, I try. I try.
I mean, we all get busy and things fall through the cracks, but I think you do a good part of coming back through and educating people and
I appreciate
answering
that.
those questions. So,
Thank you.
You're my home inspector. You know, it's like, you know, other people have always vying for my business, and I'm like, sorry, I already have a guy. You know, he hasn't let me down yet. So, what can I say? What about hot water heaters? Like, is there maintenance upkeep for hot water heaters? Because I mean, it sits in the closet, it just makes hot water.
Yeah, you should flush them. You know, a couple times a year. They have that drain valve. You shut your hot water heater off. There's that drain valve down at the bottom there. You hook a hose to it, and you drain all the water out of there. You get all the sediment that you might have in there, and get it out of there.
Stockton have sediment in the water? Really?
I think everybody has that problem. I don't care where you're at, but that's a good idea, is to do that. That helps out a lot. Also, you have that anode rod at the top of your water heater. You might unscrew that and see what you got going on there. That may need to be replaced.
So what's the anode rod do?
That's it takes anything, the metals and everything, and it rusts instead of your hot water heater rusting, and so that helps out. Sometimes
extends the life of your tank.
yeah, it helps out. It's part of the maintenance of the tank, and sometimes those things get eaten up, and so you need to replace it.
Electrolysis.
Yes. So
What about dishwasher maintenance? I mean, like, put my dishes in there, turn it on, put a little tab in there, and it's done. I mean, I'm sure is there anything to maintain on a dishwasher?
yeah, I mean, you got that screen down there. You should keep that clean, because otherwise your drain line will get plugged up, and then your air gap at the top of your sink will start spewing out water, and you're wondering why. It's because your line's plugged up from food and whatever else.
Okay.
And so you need to have that cleaned, and then clean your air gap. And yeah.
I remember when I was younger, one of my aunts, she was like, "Oh no, that's where the water drains." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know."
Oh yeah. Some people think it's perfectly okay, and I'm like, no, it's
supposed to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
But what did I know? What other recommendations would you have for people?
I think some of the biggest things, especially here in the Central Valley with older homes, with crawl spaces and basements, is getting that water that runs off your roof away from your house. So many times people will call me on the phone and ask me to stop by and see, hey, I'm getting water in my basement. I don't know why. Well, the first thing I'll do, I won't even go in the basement. The first thing I do is walk around the house, and I find that they have no gutters.
Oh wow.
So where's all that water going?
Right
It's
down.
going right down the side of their house and right back into their basement. You know, especially if they don't have good ground slope around their house. It's either negative or neutral,
Right.
meaning, so where's that water going to go? It's going to go right back underneath
Most
the house.
homes are negative because over time the grass it builds up and it decays and it builds up and it's higher and
So yeah, so that's a
your house settles.
exactly. So there's one of the biggest issues I find. It's really important to get the water away from your house. You'll have less cracking inside your house. With less movement, of course, comes less cracking, and then you don't have water under there, so you have less issues with mold and mildew underneath your house. Because if you let water sit underneath your crawl space or basement too long, you're going to get mold.
Yeah.
And so,
Is it deadly mold?
well, we don't know that unless you test.
And do you test for mold?
I do on a separate thing. Yes, I do.
Separate.
Mold. Yeah, on mold inspections.
So you do mold inspections
Yeah.
above and beyond. And
Yes, I tend not to try to do it with the home inspection. It's just a separate thing altogether. I usually recommend that if I do find mold in a house, I recommend that they get somebody in there to remediate it professionally, because if you don't do it correctly, you can end up spreading it everywhere. And so now it's a little different with, like, you have an older home and you have single pane windows and there's mold along the window.
So that's,
You just need to clean that stuff. And the reason why that mold's there is because you have dust built up along the window, and so that mold catches that dust, and with some moisture condensation from the window,
it just grows.
it grows. So
That's not.
keep your windows clean.
It's not deadly black mold, is it?
You don't know unless you test.
What about the mold in your shower? Is that? I mean, it's
All right, so I tell people, clean your shower. That's just from lack of ventilation. And open a window. Don't close the door after you take a shower. Leave it open.
Yeah.
If you own the home, it would be a really good idea if you spend a little money and put a vent fan in there to vent your shower. While you're showering, you can have a vent going on.
Right.
So that warm, moist air is going somewhere else to the exterior of the house.
Not in the attic?
Yeah, not in the attic, no, to the exterior of the house.
Like, that's the way a lot of houses are built, you know.
Yeah.
Just put it in, you know, it just goes in the attic. Okay.
We see that a lot.
I bet.
Yeah. So.
What do you see in attics? What's a common problem you see in attics?
Typically with older homes, like we just mentioned, disconnected vents.
Like
if they-
dryer, like gas vents?
Not so much gas vents. Usually, pretty much people are on top of that. But you know, venting your dryer into your attic or your crawl space.
That's not a good idea.
That's not a good idea. You're putting a lot of moisture in there, so you know you're going to have a mold problem.
Right.
Yeah.
What about and what about crawl spaces? Broken pipes, I would imagine would be
Yeah,
like number one.
Yeah. Broken pipes, moisture, water entry into the crawl space.
Mhm.
I mean, we just got all these rains, and I mean, probably you know, 3 or 4 times a week, some of the houses I was crawling under, you know, were flooded, and so that has to be addressed.
Do you wear a wetsuit?
No, I don't go in those kind of. I don't go into
You're
those.
like, sorry, inaccessible today.
Exactly. But I do come back and will crawl it once it's dry. You know,
Okay.
even if I just had a lady call me. I did her home inspection in November, and she just called me 2 weeks ago to come back and inspect her crawl space. So
You
I
ever
did.
do them for homeowners? You know, people who live there for 5 or 10 years?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do that. People are like, "How come my house is cracking?" I know why,
Yeah.
but you know, I'll go under there and make sure, verify everything, make sure,
Mhm.
see what's going on.
What about electrical panels? Is there any maintenance to electrical panels?
Not so much maintenance, but what there is that people don't replace old electrical panels. So, you know, you have your stab locks, your FPE panels that were installed many years ago that are problematic and should be upgraded. So what it is that any panel that's over 40 years, you know, will say, hey, you know, it's time for an upgrade. Just like anything. You have metal in there, you have heat in there, electricity flowing, so things wear out. And so, you know, I'll say, hey, you know, it's time for an upgrade. You need to update your panel. Maybe there's not enough grounds to the panel. Maybe it's not grounded, and it's a newer panel and it's never been grounded. I'll recommend that they put a grounding rod in. You know, and depending on where they're at, they may need 2 grounding rods. They need 2 sources of grounding: one to a water pipe, one to a grounding rod, or 2 grounding rods. So
Okay.
for an updated panel.
Ground to gas pipes or just water pipes?
Well, yeah, they'll depending on what cities are. Every city has their different what they want.
Because I've noticed that some of the lines have now switched to that PEX type. You know, the gas lines are PEX, so there wouldn't be no.
Well, the gas line's not PEX, but the water line's PEX. But gas lines are that yellow line.
Plastic. But
It's kind of right. That should be bonded also. If
Okay.
you see that in the attic or in the crawl space, it is required. It is recommended by the manufacturer that yellow line be bonded. And so yeah, you'll see that in my reports. I always recommended they have an electrician ensure that was bonded when it was installed. There's really no way a home inspector can look at that and tell whether it's bonded.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. We can't
It's not
do
your
it.
specialty.
Well, it's not something we could do. It's not an inspection we could perform.
Okay.
So,
So how do people get a hold of you, Don?
they can call me at 209-373-8269.
Can you say it one more time a little slower?
209-373-8269.
And where else can they find you?
I'm on Yelp. They can find me on Yelp.
And the Healthy Home Inspection?
Healthy Home Inspections. They can look me up on the internet, Healthy Home Inspections in Stockton. And I go all over the place. Sacramento, Bay Area, Modesto, Turlock, Valley Springs, you know, wherever there's a house.
Wow,
I'll go.
you're all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize you traveled so far. I just
Yeah,
thought you were basically like
No, I go
local.
all over. Yeah, I do them wherever there's a house.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy it.
A little quiet time. The Bay Area traffic, though. I'm
I-
doing those early.
Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, join me next week when I have Jamie Guerrero on from Kelly's Angel. He's a local nonprofit doing a lot of good in the community. I want to share his story with you. If you have any real estate questions, feel free to reach out to me at 209-986-9292. That's 986-9292. Look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great day. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, audio cut, video still rolling?